Before today's video starts, I want to mention that according to YouTube statistics, only about 23% of all the people that watch my videos are actually subscribed. If you end up liking today's video, please consider subscribing. After all, it's free and you can always change your mind and enjoy the video. I have a Patreon now, it's down there in the description. There are quite a few tiers, go check it out. It will help me out a lot if you decide to support me. On to the video then. Alright, so here we are. Welcome all of you beautiful people. It's been a week since we've seen each other last time. Last time we were going over strings. In this week's video we're going to go over string methods, effectively expanding on all the knowledge we acquired last week. I have some new audio equipment that I'm testing out to see if it's a improvement or not, but so far with my smaller testings it's better. I like it a lot more, so just let me know if it sounds real good or if it just sucks. Okay, so onto the topic at hand then. So string methods are today's topic. So to show a really brief example, the first method we're going to cover is string length. It's essentially a property that will return the length of our string. So I have an example prepared. Oops, cannot type apparently. So var, let's say txt equals, and we have to put in double quotes because it's a string, and we're going to end it off with a semicolon, and we're going to type in, I don't know, something to represent the amount of characters in there. So let's say I have an example here. I'm just going to copy the text from it. I'm going to take it from my notes directly. I'm not gonna bother with making something up. That's what notes are good for. And here I'm going to create another variable, call it the res, or not res, but str ln for string length, for example. Oops, there we go. And we're going to say txt dot, and you can see that the first property it gives us is the length property, so we're going to use that. So highlight it, press tab, end it off with a semicolon, and you might think, yeah, that's it, that's all I have to do. Well, nothing has changed, nothing is different. So I showed you last time well, I'm not sure if it was last time, but I showed you a few different methods which we can see the result. One of them is one of my personal favorites, console.log, in which we can say, hey, put this into the console, which will be strln. So if I save it and hit refresh over here, you're not gonna see anything unless you press F12 and go into the console section, and it says there are 26 characters, which there are 26 letters in the alphabet, so that checks out. So that's one of the methods which you can see the output, but one of the methods that you guys may remember is my favorite one, which is document. Oops, cannot type apparently. So document dot get element by ID. Oops, wrong one. Get element by ID. Dot, and it was inner HTML equals, and we'll say strln, and we need to type in the name of our element, and the name of our element is result, so we're going to use result, for example. So if I save this and refresh this, you'll notice that our second paragraph over here has changed to the same result. So we can use either that or that to showcase our results. So it depends on you what you want to use. I'm personally going to go forward with using this method personally because it's easier for me to show. So string length, easy to remember, shows just the length of the string. Next, what we can do is we can make, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to comment all of this out, because the last thing I want is for it to cause me problems. So I'm going to comment it all out because we're not gonna use any of this anymore. Again, the code will be down there in the GitHub repository created for these tutorials or for this document section or stuff. Basically, if you want to follow along, just open the document down there in the description in my GitHub page, find the appropriate text files, open them up, see what's changed, what's different, and you can follow along. So next we're going to find a string inside of a string. So what we're going to create is another variable. We're going to say title it like sample text, because I cannot think of a better name, so that's what I'm going with, so me. And we're going to say, hi, I want you to locate a word, for example. It's something I just came up with, it's not even in my notes. And what we're going to do is we're going to create another variable. This time we'll call it position. And what this variable will have inside of it is we're going to take the property of sample text. We're going to say, IndexOff. And inside of the IndexOff, we're going to type in the string we want to search for. And to do so, we're going to have to put it in double quotes. We're going to end it off here with a semicolon. And we want to search for the word you, for example. So if you want to search for that, just type in you, and we won't be able to see anything unless we put it inside of something. So we're going to type in document dot get. I cannot type. Dot get element by ID, open close parentheses, dot inner HTML. We're going to title it as position, so position, and we're going to replace result again, so result. So if we decide to refresh this, it will say that it's in position 10, and I don't really want to count, but let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, which makes sense, it's at position 10. So that's how you can get the position of a word you're searching for. So that's how you would do that. Alright, next one. Going quite well so far, I must say. So the next one is kind of the same demeanor, so I'm going to just copy this. Didn't think this through again. So we're going to just reuse this one, but we're going to change this IndexOff to something a little bit different. What we're going to change it to is LastIndex you, and what we need to do is it will let us know the last occurrence of said word. So hi, I want you to locate a word called you, for example. Oops, wrong keyboard layout, you. And what it will do is it will let us know the last position of the last word, which is the same as you. So no matter how many times you have it before it, it will just search for the last occurrence. So if we do that, say 38, so it's far further, which would make sense. It's over here, all the way over here at the end. So that's how you would search for the last index of a certain word. It will just let you know the number of the last word. If I were to remove you right now, save it and refresh it, it will change to 10. So you can use it either way depending on what you want. But let's say you cannot. I'm just going to show you something. So let's say you want to search for a word that isn't there, like apple. What it will do, it will set the position to -1 because it cannot find it. The same goes for IndexOff over here, which we used because it just cannot find the word, so it's going to say -1. So that's something that you may want to remember. If you're searching for a different word that isn't even in there, it's going to return -1. If the last word is found, it's going to change the number to 38 because it is at position 38. So yeah, we're far further than I thought we would. However, there's actually one more thing that's related to this. The LastIndex can actually be used, or IndexOff actually, well, both of them can be used with another parameter with them. So what is the other parameter that I want to mention? The other parameter is a really simple one. Let me just comment these out real quick. So the other parameter I want to mention is one that is followed by a column, and what you want to type in is a number. The number will say the starting position from which it's going to search. So let's say we want to start from 20. Okay. Oops. We're going to switch the keyboard. So let's say we want to start from 20. What it will do is it will start from 20. So the remainder is apparently 10. Yeah, so what this one does, it searches to the beginning, so that's why it says 10, because we went over the position where the first one is, because we started at 20 and it searches backwards. What we can do is I can show you one little trick, is if we change this to just IndexOff, watch what will happen. It will return to 38, it will just skip the first occurrence, because the first occurrence is at position 10. So by using LastIndexOff instead of IndexOff as we have here, what it does, it basically searches backwards. So that's why we saw number 10 here, it searches backwards. That's something that you may want to consider while working with this. There's another thing that works in pretty much the same way as the IndexOff and such. What we can do is we can basically change the LastIndexOff, or basically IndexOff as we had in this example, which I'm just gonna copy because I don't want to reuse the same form of text over and over again because I'm a terrible person and I'm somewhat lazy. I'm just going to copy this section of the code that we used before and just reuse it as another example for another section. So we're going to just clear this out, and we're going to change this one to, is we're going to say search. What search does, it basically returns with the exact same thing as IndexOff. It's pretty much the same thing, but there's a difference. You cannot use search for other things that you would be able to use IndexOff for. For example, it cannot even take negative values as far as I'm aware. Or maybe in some of my testing it didn't work, maybe I'm wrong on that, don't quote me on that. But it works in pretty much the same way as IndexOff. If you are interested in knowing how it works, it works in pretty much the same way as IndexOff, and that's all that there's to it. So now we go into the second half of everything, which is arguably a lot more fun. So, what we can do is there are a few things that we can do in terms of modifying our text. We can actually extract certain parts of text using certain methods. There are 3 methods actually that we can use to achieve our goals. You can't even see my hand because I'm too stupid to realize it. So first one is slice, second one is substring, and the third one is subster. So let's cover slice first. Slice is a method that extracts a part of a string and returns the extracted part of it. For example, I'm going to comment this out because we no longer need it. For some reason my mouse doesn't want to cooperate, but that's fine. So Let's say we have a shopping list. This might sound familiar to some of you who have watched my previous series on Python and such, because we're going to reuse something that might sound familiar to you guys. And in the double quotes, we're going to type in apple, banana, kiwi. So what we've created here is a small shopping list of the stuff we need to get. And we're going to create another one which will be result. I don't know how to call it result, let's just call it the res as the result for a shorter version of it. So what we can do is we can type in shopping list dot, and you can see a bunch of things we can do again. Right now what we're going to do, we're going to use slice. So we're going to type in slice, open and close parentheses, end it up with a semicolon, and now we're going to type in some parameters. So the first parameter is the starting position and the second parameter is the ending position. So let's say we want to carve out the word banana. What we're going to do is we're going to type in 7 followed by 13. So what we define here is the starting and ending position. So what we should see is, I'm going to copy this result thing and just change it because I'm lazy. So what we should see is if I change this to res now and save it and just refresh the page, we should see just the word banana. The reason is it goes to the 7th place, so 7th index. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's right before banana. Then it goes 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So if we wanted to just carve out kiwi, we would do 14, 15. So we would say 15 over here. Oops, cannot type apparently. And what we would say is 16, 17, 18, 19. So let's say 19. So what we should see now is just the word kiwi. And that's how you carve out a specific word. You know, that's how it works basically. What we can do is we can actually remove, let's say we want to start with, I don't know, let's say at the index of 1, for example, and we're going to just get rid of the second parameter. What should happen is we should see all 3 of them is still intact. And then let's say you want to carve out the word apple, so we can have only banana and kiwi. We would just type in 7, because what it does, it just removes everything before it but shows us everything after it. So at position 7, as you remember, the word banana begins and it goes all the way down to kiwi. And what we can do here is we had 13, so let's say 14 was the one. And if I refresh this, we should see kiwi, which we do. So just by doing this, we can get the same results without having to work for it as hard for it. So that's another thing you can do. Now, there's the second method I mentioned, which is subster. Subster works in a similar fashion as a slice. It's really similar to it, and it works in the exact same way. So let's say I want to change this to subster, or you know what, let me just copy this and just change that one word to subster, so I can show you what's going on in here. So we're going to change slice to subster, and to show you what it does. Oops, not substring, subster. And if I refresh this, it does the exact same thing. However, subster does not accept negative values. If you try and do that, it will return an error. So the only method out of these two that I just mentioned that can accept negative values is slice. So if you want to search kind of like, you know, backwards for certain words or in negative positions, only only slice is capable of doing so. Now we go into the more fun parts of the entire video, which is basically, let me just copy this because it's going to be useful for later. So now we're going to create another text variable, another string, and I have a example prepared. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just copy the code from my notes, and I'm going to explain what it does. So what I just copied here is a string that I made, which says please visit Microsoft. You might have noticed I don't even use a word string here or the word var. One really cool thing about JavaScript is that it can identify the variable which you're using, so the only thing that you have to keep in mind is which data type you're working with. In our case, we're working with the data type of string because we defined a string here which says please visit Microsoft. What we're doing is we're replacing the word Microsoft with my tag, which I use under Discord and Steam and other platforms. So what it would do is it will search for the word Microsoft, which is the first one. The first one defines the parameter we're searching for, whereas the second parameter here defines what word it has to be replaced by. So if I reload this, you notice it doesn't do anything. That's because we did not even tell it to change it to that. So let's do that. So we're going to type in N, I believe. Yes, we type in N. So as you can see, it says please visit beginning to 47, even though the original says please visit Microsoft. It's handy if you need to change it based on which user logs into or registers into your website and you just don't want to make a special message for everyone. What you can do is you can create a separate variable which will look for the username tag and then just replace it with the new username if the user gets registered, and that's how you would do it. So you can say please visit or just hello and followed by the username of the user. So you could say hello beginning to 47, for example. You don't have to do it this way, it's just a method I'm suggesting. There are far better methods of doing so. So the other ones are just more for fun. What you can do is we can actually, well, actually I forgot one more thing. We're going to copy this, well, not copy this, we're going to make one slight change here. I'm going to copy the word Microsoft here just to show one more thing with the replace method. So if I refresh this now, watch what happens. The second word didn't get replaced. So what happened? The thing that happened is that the replace string or method works in a specific way. It cannot replace all the strings inside of it. It will replace only the first instance. So only in this case, this first Microsoft will be replaced with my tag here. The second one won't even get touched. So it's something you need to remember. So we're actually almost nearing the end, which is kind of interesting. So next we have converting to upper and lower case, which is again something that you would want to do on either a regular basis or not. It's up to you, but it's important for me to cover nonetheless. So I'm going to comment this out, and I'm going to show you a thing. So I have here another example. So let's see here. So let's say I want to say hello world, for example, and I have some nodes extra in there, so I need to be careful how I copy it. There we go. And there we go. And what we need to do is we need to somehow show the results, so we need to actually use this again. I'm going to say text Latu, and I'm going to refresh this. So what happened here? So you might have noticed that our hello world text looks just like any regular hello world text here. So you have the first letter, which is uppercase, followed by lowercase letters, then a space, then another uppercase letter followed by lowercase letters, and an exclamation point. What happened here is that all the letters got replaced with their uppercase counterparts, which is what uppercase does, or to uppercase. Let's say you don't want to have it uppercase. This is actually useful if you're working on a database, because in a database you don't want to have inconsistencies in formatting. So there are some databases that require that the input data is uppercase. This is how you would do it. But let's say you don't want to have it in uppercase. Let's say you want to have it in lowercase. So just change the upper to lower and we'll move everything to lowercase. So that's that's all there's to it. There's nothing difficult with this one, it's self-explanatory. So let's move on then, shall we? Need to move down a little so you guys can see everything else. So another method that's important to understand, well, not important but it's good to know, is a method that will let us join two or more strings together. So the method I'm talking about is concat, cannot read apparently from my notes even. Concat is a method that lets us join two strings into one. So I have another example. As always, I spent quite a bit of time searching for easy enough examples for you guys to understand. So I put in the example. What it will do is it will join those two strings together, but we don't have a method of seeing if it actually does that. So let's copy our favorite little bit of text from here. As you can see, this one is being used to hell, but it's important. So we're going to change text 2 to text 3. And we're going to refresh the page. As you can see, even though we are using two different variables to create one string variable that's put together, the only thing we did is we just took these two variables and put them together using concat. The way that concat works is you have the first part that you want to connect to something else, followed by the first parameter which adds a certain type of string, which we can actually abuse to say beautiful world. So if I refresh this, it will say hello beautiful world, because the first part of this, the first parameter, will pretty much take the first word, separate it by anything that's in here, and then follow it right after it with the second part you put in, which in our case is text 2, which is why what you guys saw was hello world, because we have it only separated by one space. So that's concat. Concat, simply put, joins those two strings together. It puts them together. So another really handy one, and that's also related to formatting of text, I know, shocking, is, hold on, let me just comment on this out because we're not going to use it anymore, is one that's called trim. What trim does is really simple. Let's say you have another variable called, I don't know, text is cool, for example, and we want to say, let's say there's this one guy in your office who's a bit of a douche and he wants to mess with you. He wants to make your life a living hell. So he adds a bunch of spaces and says, hi, this is for you, John. Cannot type apparently. I think that's, yeah, that's it. And oh, this is for you, John. Then he adds it over exclamation point and adds a bunch of blank spaces. Yes, it's annoying. There are some people who will try to do this. So another method of formatting is, you guessed it, trim. Trim will simply take all the white spaces that are there and just remove them. So we're going to say text is cool. I refresh this and you'll notice no white spaces whatsoever. If I didn't do this, wait, is it even working this way? I don't think I did it right. No, I did not do it right. It actually automatically removed it. So I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. So we have var text is cool. So what it did, just removed it automatically. See, it removed all the white spaces. I didn't even use trim. It removed it automatically, which is something that I didn't mention or didn't even write down in my notes because I wasn't able to find it, why it does that, but it does that automatically for some reason. So, let's show you what it would do if we were to save it as another variable called res. Let's say we want to take the text is cool string and say trim. Oops. Trim that bastard, trim it. And we're going to boom, oh crap. There we go, and we want to just use the trim thing, I guess. So what we need to get is just the result, so we'll say res. As you can see, it doesn't really change anything because JavaScript apparently already does it for you, so it doesn't even show it properly because it just does it for you, that there's nothing to worry about, it just does it for you. So we essentially did this for nothing, even though it does it, you know, on its own, it does it automatically, you don't have to worry about any of this at all. So, now we can move on to the final section of today's video, and the final section that I'm going to be talking about today is extracting string characters, so each and every little tiny bit of our text will be just taken off right away. So there are three methods you can use to extract characters from strings. First one is char@. Second one, char code@. The third one is a property case. The third one is a bit more complicated than that, but I'll show you a hopefully understandable example. So, let's comment all this out, because we're not gonna be reusing this. Alright, so, let's say we have a string. I'm just gonna title it simply because I don't want to waste anybody's time here. And let's say it will be hello world, just like that. And we ended up with a semicolon because we're proper. And what we can do is we can get the character at a certain position. So what we need to do is type in the following: str.char, and you can see it says already char@ for us, so we're going to tab it out. We're going to put in our open and closed parentheses and our semicolon, and let's say we want to get the second character. We'll refresh it, it doesn't do anything because we didn't show it in the text, so we need to copy the section of code, pop it in, and replace it with str. But it wouldn't work, so I need to make another variable. I shouldn't even have removed it actually. We're going to reuse res in our advantage here. We're going to create a var res that will reuse it in our favor. Boom. It took E, even though I typed in 1. What's the deal? Well, char@ and by extension char code@ counts from 0 to 1. So position 0 is actually for us position 1. And position 1 for the computer is actually position 2 for us. So hello world is for us on the second position with the E letter. So if we type in 1 here, the computer interprets it as 0, 1, you know, like 0, 1, 2, 3. Well, for us it would be 4, for the computer it's 3. So if we wanted the fourth letter, we would have to type in 3, and the fourth letter is L. So if we refresh it, we'll get L back. Or let's want to get the fifth letter, we'll have to type in 4 because computers count from 0 to a certain number. So it will say O because it's for us on the 5th position, for the computer it's in the 4th position. Simply put, computers count from 0 to 1, and you can use like the char@ to get the character. There's actually one method similar to this, and I'm gonna reuse the section of code for this. So, oops, cannot copy apparently because my mouse is acting up. Control C, and I think we can just, oops, didn't mean to do that. You know what, let's add it in manually. So, I'm going to paste it in. And we're going to change this to code, car code add, and we're going to say 0 over here. If I refresh this, watch what happens. It changed to a number. What is this number? This is actually the character code for our letter H. To show you proof, we're going to add another one and say car code for lowercase h, and it says 72. There we go. So the lowercase one is 104. Did not know how to type it in like that. So you can use Google to get the same result, but if you can get it this with a simple program with JavaScript, you can do it like this. So it is indeed 104. I was worried for a second it wasn't that. Jeez. So yeah, that's how you can get the key code. However, there's one more thing we can do. We can actually get property access to a certain character. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy this because I'm a lazy bastard. And let's say I wanna do the same thing we did with car add, but we wanna make it really simple. I'll show you something real cool real quick. So what I did is, if I refresh this, we'll get the first letter, which is 8. So what did we do? Basically what property access does, it goes into the string str, and it will interpret it as some sort of an array. And it will take the first position of the array, and it will just, take the first position of the array. So here we have an array of letters, which string basically is an array of letters put together, and we're taking the first position. The first position for computers is 0. For us, it's 1. So, or the first position, if you will. And on the first position, we have the letter H. That's why we got the letter H as a result, because we're taking the first letter, because we're taking the first one here as some sort of property access. You can use this on pretty much anything, I think. I haven't really tested it, so don't quote me on that. But from what I know, you can use this on strings to just get the certain letters that you need real quick, real fast, and real easy. I hope this was somewhat informative for you guys. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I hope to see all of you beautiful people next time.